It's January 2024 already. What are we talking about today? All right, well, it's 1 week away from the 4473 implementation. I'll talk to you a little bit about that. State updates, ATF inspection updates, our FFLC Academy update. We're a little behind, but excited that next week should be a go live week for us. Got some really good stuff in Compliance Corner. Talk more about the story box. We always like the story box, still don't see it used enough. And then FFL best practices. So, hey, we're just going to talk about this 4473. It is due next, this Thursday, I believe. Thursday is the 1st. So we are going live. You cannot use the old form. So here we go. Revised 4473s. If you haven't ordered forms, all right, required by 2/1. Actually, this is incorrect. The electronic 4473, just in case you're wondering, is not updated. We checked again yesterday. ATF is behind the 8 ball again. A lot of people out there using the electronic 4473 provided by ATF, and that is not updated yet, hopefully by the 1st. You guys know we have the Before You Begin guide that is available for you and your first-time gun buyers. If you're using that, great. If not, let us know. We can always send it to you. It's great for anyone who's never filled out a 4473 or hasn't filled one out in quite a while. We are providing video training next week for all your new employees going forward on 4473s. So you'll be able to log right into our FFLC Academy, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And your employees will be able to take a 30-minute course and learn how to fill out this form and get it right the first time and help the customers get it right as well. All right, the revisions, just go over one more time. People are still asking us about this, so we thought we'd once and for all get it out there again before it goes live. Just most importantly, make sure your 4473 says August 2023 down in the bottom right corner. If you use an old form, it's a violation of law, believe it or not, because the agreement and the language is not current and legal. So make sure your form always says August 2023. And like I said, if you're using a paper form, make sure you have the right paper form in place. Old forms cannot be used. Big no-no. We actually had a client show up with these violations on his report of violations from the ATF inspection, that they were using an old form, an outdated form, and thus disqualified the transfer. So educate your team using this video. We'll send back to you later today. We'll give you a replay and make it available to you. And also make sure you're using our FFLC Academy course once it's available next week. Understand the changes and manage the customer experience. There you go. So significant changes. If you go out to the ATF, we just want to warn you that this information that they, first of all, make sure you get the right page if you do go out there, but the information they are providing is still, believe it or not, still wrong. They tried to update their page regarding the new issuance of this new version of the 4473. And as I read through it a couple of weeks ago, and actually as recently as last week, the instructions are still wrong as they are displayed in the ATF website. So don't rely on the ATF site for how to do this right. Right, we're only going to go over the significant changes again. The biggest one is question 21B on the prior form, the one you just stopped using. 21B was very confusing. Many customers were answering that incorrectly with a yes answer, and it should have been a no answer. Regardless, that question has been moved. It is now 21N. That question has been reworded. Ammunition has been removed. It makes sense now. And most folks that we've seen using this new form already are getting it right. The proper answer to 21N is no. And here's where you go. Here's where it has been moved to. Again, it's in question 21, section N. Do you intend to sell or dispose of any firearm listed on the form or any continuation sheet to any person described in questions 21B through L above, or to a person described in question 21M1, which is an alien immigrant with a visa who does not fall within the non-immigrant alien exception. So again, it's in the right place, makes sense. Everyone's getting it right, and you should be fine with that. Again, that's the significant change. And the other big change is a question regarding alien immigrants or non-immigrant visa exception. Have you been admitted to the United States under a non-immigrant visa? So these 21M1 and M2 were the prior 21N is a Nancy, N1 and N2 just moved up one slot. These should be answered appropriately with a no answer in 21M1 and then leave 21M2 blank. Unfortunately, there are no instructions here. The instructions have been removed. But if you remember to the prior 4473, prior to the last version, there were actually instructions here that said, if you answer no to 21M1, leave 21M2 blank, but that's no longer here. So we have confirmed that if a customer answers 21M2 with a no answer, that is, it is okay. You can leave it there. And here, just this last sentence has been added, and this is a warning to customers that the ATF is watching to see if you are buying firearms repeatedly for the purpose of resale, predominantly to earn a profit, and maybe possibly trading in firearms without a license. This sentence has been put in here as a result of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the new law that was new laws that were instituted back in 2022. Very discreetly, this allows the ATF to go after those folks selling guns without a license at gun shows. For the most part, we're getting a lot of activity around this piece of the law. We're getting a lot of customers calling us, telling us they have a selective trace or someone's they are looking through the 4473s for an individual buying a lot of guns, and that's what this is all about. So when the ATF gets wind of someone at a gun show, maybe buying guns from you and then going over to the gun show, you and all the other gun dealers in your area will be selectively traced for that customer, and they'll come in looking for 4473s to try to gather evidence to prove that someone's buying a lot of guns and not keeping them. That's basically it. So be aware of that. That sentence is there. There's nothing for you to do with it. Just know it's there. And then just know that this area has been squeezed. It's all been squeezed up there. It used to be lower under the question on the 27C, but now they've squeezed these boxes up here because of the other text and sections they have put in there. But remember, you always make sure those boxes are checked. Again, if you're using a paper form, we've already found customers not checking these boxes because they're in a different place. Sounds crazy, but it's happening. So guys, we just want to bring this to you as an option. With the recent revisions of the forms, I believe the last one and this one, they've removed any information for the NICS operator. So in 27C, this is just an example of where we've seen, kind of a best practice growing. Folks still want to go ahead and mark or identify which NICS operator they may have talked to if they called it in, or if they got an update by a NICS operator or the ATF who called them after the transfer or after the initial background check. You can literally write into the paperwork, even after it's printed, you can write in the information just so you have it for long-term keeping. This would be for any type of proceed, but more so when you get a delay and then you go up to 27D in the next section and you get an update from NICS as to proceed or overturn any one of these other 27D boxes. It may be prudent to go ahead and just write in the operator's name and number in there who called you or contacted you with a change in the status. I want to talk about box 32, the story box. We often talk about this, and we've been talking about it for a couple of years, and it's actually a great item for you guys to utilize, but we don't see a lot of FFLs actually using it. So I want to give you some great examples of where it does show that there's a good reason for it and might be necessary to get you through your next inspection with ease versus an ATF inspector pulling these forms and possibly doing additional research or drill down unnecessarily. In some of these boxes, we have some best practices going on we want to share with you. Here's a great one. Transferring a firearm after the 30-day expiration on a background check. So the background check starts the day after that you initiate the background check. So today is, I believe, the 28th or 29th. And our background check 30-day expiration, if we got a delay, would start tomorrow. And if we got to proceed, the same thing. We have 30 days from the date of initial response from the background check service to go ahead and transfer that firearm without starting a new form. So a best practice for a lot of folks is to put that expiration date right there in box 32. So the employee does not, go beyond that date, does not cause a failure, does not cause an error. And it's just a great reminder to say, okay, we're okay to transfer this gun. Customer's going to come pick this up, but when we look at the form, when they come to pick it up, it clearly displays the expiration date for that 4473 background check. Just a best practice. We think a lot more folks are trying to do that, and we see that. Just want to share that with you. And it could just be the date. It could say expires. You could have some other code in there. Here's another one. End of day sale. Customer left and had us call him next day when status was retrieved. All right, so there's a cool little note when somebody came in and got a background check and they left. So we got a difference. We got some different dates on the form. We might have a date in box 23, which is the certification date. But it might be, and the background check might be the same as the certification date, but they came back a couple of days later and they picked up the gun and there's a recertification signature and date. Everything's good, but hey, there's a nice little note in there as to what happened. And it just tells the ATF inspector when they look at the paperwork, what happened and why. And they'll just go ahead and flow right through your inspection process. They won't pull this form for any extra verification. They won't go looking at disposition dates, etc. Here's another explanation. Customer wanted to do a layaway on Taurus after background check was done. Okay, not exactly sure what that was pertaining to, but hey, it's just another good little note. Might be explaining why another gun was added to a form, etc., etc. So just good little notes you can put in here. And here's one that says background check 102YB, kind of crossed out the rest of the background NICS number. It said it had wrong birth city and is no good. So this is probably from one we looked at where there were two NICS numbers that they called us and said, hey, I screwed up. We realized after we did the background check and got to proceed that, we used the wrong place of birth on the city. So I was sitting at the wrong city on the place of birth on 4473. So, hey, we tell them go do a new background check, run a new NICS, but make sure you put the other NICS in box 27B as well. Probably put dates above each one to show that those NICS were run on different dates. And here's a little note. Little notes go a long way, especially if there's anything odd with your 4473. Another great practice on box 32 is if anyone's looking at your forms in second person, second set of eyes, or even a third set of eyes, reviewing the form, feel free to initial those boxes, put your initials in that box someplace. The ATF does look for initials. It is kind of the universal place for anyone reviewing the form to show that you have a form review process in place before the gun gets transferred. So if you're doing any of that, great. Please, do your best to utilize box 32 when you have to. Just so you guys know, these states have had significant changes in the laws. So Washington, let's see, we got Washington, Colorado. Washington's got so many different laws, guys. And I'll just say, I think you probably received, or I will send it back out to you with the replay, the updated restricted states guide. And why is that important? Well, if you have customers who are coming into your store from out of state, they're visiting, they're in the area, they want to buy a long gun, we have those that guide updated. So I'll send that back out to you all today. But over in Washington, they are just chock full of new laws as of January. Basically, you can't sell anything to anyone in Washington without jumping through hoops. We just recommend not getting involved in selling any guns to either Washington State, Illinois. Colorado has a 72-hour hold. Just that's the only issue they had there. Illinois has a lot of new laws effective January 1st regarding assault weapons. Arkansas, you guys just have this whole marijuana, cannabis thing going on. So just a reminder that if somebody says yes to that cannabis medical marijuana card, or if they claim they have a pistol permit and they use cannabis and they can Check that box correct with a yes answer. That is actually not legal at the federal level. So in Arkansas or to Arkansas residents, we still cannot accept cannabis as, or we have to deem it a prohibiting factor rather. So make sure you're checking in with that. New York had a lot of new laws kick into place with that, even with ammunition. So if you get anybody from New York, just send them back to New York to buy the gun and ammo. And again, Washington State, they're using they went online. They're not even using NICS anymore. So they're using their own internal program called SAFE, much like Illinois and New York State, the state police, and even Colorado, state police run all of the background checks. And the reason a lot of states are moving in this direction, unfortunately, is that they want to check records at the state level, which might go beyond your criminal records check, might be mental health records, might be juvenile delinquency records. Sadly, a lot of states are moving in this direction, and we at the NSSF and FFLC are absolutely against any infringement of privacy when it comes to these state records restrictions. It's ridiculous. So there's more denials in those states, obviously, than before because of these extra checks they're doing. Again, if you get people from these states, either give us a call. You know, if it's just a shot, it might be a shotgun, okay, it might be a bolt action rifles, okay, but give us a call when in doubt. And I'll go ahead and get that restricted states guide in your hands this afternoon. All right. ATF statistics real quick. Here's how the year ended, the calendar year. In December, the total inspections was down. December is usually a lower month anyway because of Christmas and holidays and the government employees having to take their vacation before the end of the year. So we had less inspectors in the field. We had 538 total inspections, almost 100 less than prior months, 150 less than October. Here's the offices with all of the high-ranking numbers. Interestingly, the Columbus, Ohio office had the most inspections, and Dallas is always up there, but Columbus actually covers a wide range of a very vast area. But here's the one that's more important. Here's where you had the revocations, FFLs getting revoked. Now we had two. Now remember, these revocations are the issues that concluded in December. They didn't happen in December. They probably happened anytime in August or September, October is when the inspection occurred. And it takes several months for these to actually get through the trial system and the hearing process. And there was a total of 10 businesses revoked in December. This is a good number screen that they provided to us. Long story short, these are all the inspections for calendar 2023. That's a lot of inspections, 8,600. Here's the big number. This is what's gonna go ahead and get us in trouble, actually. When we sit with the ATF or get in front of the ATF, they say, hey, your client or your FFL made a lot of errors, and that's why you're here, and that's why we're considering either suspending or removing your license or fining you. And they say, you know, more than 53% of gun dealers inspected had zero problems. And this is kind of the challenge they put forth when you have to go sit with them. They say if more than half the gun dealers had inspections with no problems, why can't you do it right? And it's kind of a straightforward question. And you sit there for the next 2 or 3 hours pleading your case and crying a little bit and promising the world to them and telling them you're going to do 18 things differently going forward if you let us keep our license here. So that's the big number. We haven't really focused on that in the past, but it's coming up more and more. You know, the challenge to keep your licenses from the ATF. Why can't you do it like the other guys? The bottom number there, 170 revocations last year, almost 2%. So 2 out of 100. It's not a big number. You just don't want it to be you. I'm going to go over to compliance corner here and give you some best practices. And this is based on not only what we've seen, but a lot of what you guys are telling us is important to you and what we can share with our audience. So the bottom line, we've talked about already, check every 4473 2 or 3 times before the transfer. That's before. We still have people checking after the transfer and running into big issues, revocable issues. We keep getting a question about cloud storage, and the overwhelming response from our clients anyway, is printing and paper are cheaper than a revocation. So the answer is, if you're considering cloud storage of 4473s, continue to wait till after we get a new administration, and hopefully after we get some zero tolerance pullback. If you're considering the cloud storage program to save paper and printing and some money there, it could cost you a license, because the ATF will see every correction, every edit when they do finally come to inspect your 4473 stored in the cloud. And unfortunately, if you corrected something after the transfer, that was one of the 9 deadly sins, you're not going to be able to avoid that, and you're going to be providing the evidence to the ATF to revoke your license or issue you a notice of revocation at the least. We talked about box 32. Again, we love box 32. Put your notes in there, reviews, initials, maybe the Brady expiration date or Nick's examiner. Write the story if there's a story, if it's a gift, if grandpa's gifting a gun, buying a gun as a gift for his grandson, and he's going to give it to him in next week at his birthday or for Christmas or whatever. Put the story, write a sentence that'll joggle your mind if and when that form's ever pulled out for a trace and the ATF needs to look at it and ask you about it. Have a couple words in there about what might have happened if it was a one-off type of transfer. G&T, gun not transferred, is a great note to put in there for anything denied or delays that were never picked up, or proceeds proceeds often never get picked up as well. It might be something the customer transferred in and they came in and just never, they did the background check but never picked it up. We keep the form, but the ATF pulls those when they review your denials or your cancels. They'll pull those out and cross-reference them against the bound book and waste your time and challenge you on certain things. So why not just write gun not transferred in box 32 or G&T? The ATF knows exactly what that is. That's actually their recommendation. So if you write big letters G&T in that box, they're just going to go through that when they review your forms on the next inspection, and you won't even have to deal with it. Print to download your NICS NTN report daily, weekly, and monthly. We keep talking about this. In February, we're going to do another lesson on this and how important it is. Quick, and hopefully you do know what this is, but your NICS NTN reports are available to you at any time in the eNICS system, in the LEAP system. You just go in to run an NTN history query. Every month you should be just running that report for all of your NTN. So you can download it and just save it so you have it forever. I was on an inspection 3 weeks ago, and I was going through the forms, and he had some issues, but he had one with an 8-digit NTN number in there, and he was using electronic software. And when he typed it in, they typed in 8 digits and instead of 9. Thankfully, it was back in October, so we were able to jump into his eNICS system and run the report and find that it was a proceed. So the number was still in there, even though it didn't have the personal information. By process of elimination, he only had 3 transfers on that day, and we were able to figure out the other 2 and match them up, and hence we figured out the complete number for his NTN, and we were able to jot that in there, and he was able to save himself from a possible revocation. So again, the downloads are great. The monthly downloads, well, the daily and weekly are great also, just to run your reports to make sure you have all your 4473s. You haven't missed anything. You've got the right initial responses, etc. So maintain the buddy file with all your extraneous, miscellaneous, extra paperwork not required by the 4473, and we have a list of those documents that you do need to keep with the 4473, and then everything else can just go and be filed with the buddy file. And how do you set up a buddy file? That's really easy. This is January of 2024. That would be my folder for my completed 4473s. I'd have a similar file, put my denials and cancels in a similar file, but then I have my business records on my buddy file marked January 2024. My buddy file would be January 2024, and all the miscellaneous things I might want to keep, like sales receipts, driver's licenses, copies, sales receipts, gun tags. FFL transfer records, different things that are not required to be attached to the 4473. Highlight recertification date. This one is really good. I can show you what I mean by this. When you have a delay or you have a proceed and someone hasn't picked up the gun, well, more on a delay than anything else. What's really a great practice is to just take a highlighter and highlight that box 31 on the 4473. That customer's coming back, they need to come back, they need to re-sign, they need to come back, tomorrow after I call them, or after 3 days or 10 days, whatever it might be. And yes, you can also highlight box, that the little word, the little instructions on box 30, which says buyer's signature. But we saw this in a store a couple of weeks ago, and we just thought it was a great idea. And this person has never missed a recertification date. And it's just a reminder when they pull out that form to transfer the gun to the customer that they need to get the date and signature. I just thought that was a great idea. And then you're allowed to double sign or wet sign your 4473s in box 22 and 30 if the electronic signature capture is faulty. Yeah, sometimes when we look at these forms, we see a dot or a line or part of a signature, or not even a scribble. I mean, it all depends on your signature pads. But you are allowed to, once you print that form, if you're not happy with the signature or proof of signature, and again, it doesn't have to match the driver's license. We get that question sometimes. But you can go ahead and ask the customer to wet sign it with a pen, right in the same box, right next to what was signed on the electronic signature pad or what appears from the pad. Yeah, just let them wet sign it. You're allowed to do that. You don't have to do it on everyone, but if you feel it necessary, if you're missing, sometimes they're missing a signature because they didn't capture correctly, or again, might be just a dot or a scribble. The ATF can challenge you on those. Do your best to make sure you got a good signature in that box. We'll talk a little bit about destroying or surrendering what we call orphan guns. A lot of gun dealers out there have guns sitting on a shelf in the back room. It might have been from an FFL transfer never picked up. Might be a gunsmith repair never picked up. But we get the question, how do I destroy a gun? You can't just take the gun from a customer if they didn't pick it up and acquire it. That's a whole separate issue. We're going to be going through that in February. Basically alternatives for not destroying the gun. But if you need to destroy a gun, it's broken, customer returned it, or vendor didn't want it back, or it's just sitting in the back room someplace and it's on your books, why not get rid of it? Get it out of your inventory. So the first option is to part out the gun. If you had a gunsmith, or but maybe you got a gunsmith you can transfer these to, and he or she wants to take the parts and recycle the parts. That's great. But the receiver of the firearm, whether it be a frame on a pistol or the receiver on a rifle, has to be cut into a V. ATF has guidelines for this. It's crazy. They say you have to cut it with a quarter. The cuts have to be a 1/4 inch apart, so as the firearm can never be re-welded back together, and they have special instructions available. So that is predominantly the way to do this. Cut the gun up in many pieces so that it cannot be welded back together. If you are cutting the receiver or frame, you don't have to keep any pictures. You don't need proof that you did it. You just have to go ahead and dispose the gun out. Very simply, in your bound book, it says destroyed by FFL. Instead of somebody's name, license number, or address being sent to in the disposition area of your bound book, you simply write destroyed by FFL. And that's it. It's very simple. Now you have to dispose of those parts and pieces. We also get questions about what else can I do? I don't have a bandsaw. I don't have a big circuit. I don't have this saw that I need. Well, the bottom line is that receiver frame has to be destroyed beyond reuse. You can also surrender your firearms to the ATF. You can call them and say, hey, I've got 3 guns here. Don't need, can't contact customers. They're probably not going to come and get them. They can probably tell you to surrender them to the local police department, and the police department's going to tell you they don't want them. So that's when you call us and we start over and try to find other alternatives. Contact us if you still have problems. Again, a lot of times this is when a customer got denied and you get stuck with a gun. Again, we'll be talking about different things next month about your state laws, surrender laws, having contracts in place so that you can acquire those guns eventually. You can charge storage fees, but it's not an easy process. Otherwise, you just simply cannot acquire them for resale without some legal steps in between. get your old guns disposed, get them out of your store. That way you don't have to count them. I was in a store a couple weeks ago. I think we had 17 to 18, what we call orphans, and they're the same guns that have been there for years collecting dust, and we just didn't know what to do with them. So, all right, FFLC Academy guys, we talked about this in December. Guess what? It's a work in progress, but we are feeling really, really good about this. If you haven't already, we are proposing or scheduling next week for a launch of our first course. Okay, that's the website. If you haven't signed up already, go get your stores and employees to sign up. But you have to be a student, obviously, and sign in to take your courses. The system keeps track of you, courses you've taken, courses your employees have taken. If they complete a course, they get a certificate of completion. That's really cool. And then you can use that to document specific training. You could put that in the training folders. It's a great backup to say, hey, our employees have been trained. We've been prudent and proactive. Unfortunately, our employee did not adhere to the training and they caused the problem. Please don't take my license. We fired our employee. And that's what it really comes down to when it comes to fighting a revocation is what training did you have in place? What went wrong and what'd you do about it? And all you got to do is go to our website, courses.fflcacademy.com. You go right up to the top right corner, you hit the login button. It's right there. You come up with the sign-in box. Most of you, if you haven't signed in already, you're just going to go down and sign up, just like any other online app. You fill in your information and click sign up. It's that cool. You'll get an email to your account. You got to go verify it. And then very simply, you go actually out to your email, you use your email as your sign in, and you'll just go out to your profile, update it, put your real name in there so we can keep tracking you and see who's actually in our system. So in case we're going to get in touch with you or send you an email. But yeah, just go back out after you sign in, you can go out to your account and simply hit the settings button and update your profile. Like I said, after completing a course, your employees or yourselves will get training certificates. And it also shows you what step of the process you're in, if you've signed up for different courses, and if you've completed them, and if you want to go back to them. So that's pretty cool. And to print your certificates, you just simply go up to that settings button, and it's a drop down and let you print your certificates as you complete them. So that's it, courses.fflcacademy.com. Get signed up if you're not already there. We do plan on having upwards of 30 different courses we've actually titled out and started to plan out. So there's going to be a lot of good information out there for future employees to get trained with. Just a reminder, here's your 9 deadly sins: transferring to prohibited person, failing to complete a background check, falsifying records, not responding to a trace, refusing entry to an ATF inspector. Number 6, losing a gun or having too many guns. Make sure you do an inventory, make sure you have acquisitions and dispositions timely. Everything is logged within the last 7 days. Failure to verify buyer eligibility, meaning expired IDs. That is a revocable item. Failure to maintain records needed for tracing. If you lose a 4473, you can get revoked. You can't produce it. And then obviously forgetting or missing multiple handgun forms. Again, we can send those in late when necessary. JC and I will be traveling in March to the ENIX training days. But that's the March and April schedule. Maybe somebody wants to take a vacation. You'll also see us at JC was at SHOT Show. Talked to a lot of our clients and VIPs, which is pretty cool. A lot of people tracked him down, said hi, shook a hand. He did a few presentations on a lot of this topic we're talking about. I'll be at Texas Association of Pawnbrokers, Pacific Northwest, NPA, the NBS show, and Sports Inc. JC and I are traveling to all of those, or one of those each. So if you see us, make sure you're letting us know you're coming, and love to say hi. If you want to know any more about the premium retail member program for NSSF, you can always give me a call. That's the program that keeps you out of trouble, or pays your expenses if you do get in trouble with the ATF. There's our get it right the first time, and that's it.